Okay, this is going to be my actually second take on this extrusion profile. I had an error when I moved it into the other file because there were two lines overlapping, and this is a common problem when you make profiles, especially when you're manipulating a lot of shapes. Sometimes you'll have one line hidden over another, and when you import it in to do extrusions or sweeps, it'll error out, and it doesn't immediately become clear what the problem is. Anyway, so we finished off this profile in the last clip, but I noticed I made an error right away, and these two elements down here were a little bit deeper by 1/4 inch. So I'm going to quickly correct those. Just moving them back down again, that 1/4 inch. And we'll go ahead and let me just check here to make sure I didn't do a duplicate. And we'll save that project or that profile. We're going to load that into a project, but we haven't created that project yet. So I'm going to cancel out, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new family. That is our actual curtain wall panel. And you'll notice this curtain panel pattern based. If we click on that, you'll notice that the icon is an adaptive curtain panel where you have these adaptive points. And you've probably used this before. This isn't what we're going to use for this project because it's a much more standard curtain panel system. We're going to just use the curtain wall panel. Go ahead and open that up. And we'll save that right away. We'll save that as a family. And I'd already created one called custom panel. Let's see if it'll overwrite that. It will. So this is our custom panel. And I'm going to go to the front exterior elevation, and we're going to go ahead and I zoomed extents so you can see we have our left and right sides, top and bottom, and these are they stay equal on both sides, so no matter how it is adapted to the curtain wall system, if anything is tied to these reference lines, everything will be resized accordingly. So let's go ahead and create an extrusion, our frame extrusion that we've just done the profile for. And I'm going to use a rectangle tool. And we're going to, I'm going to cancel out of that. I said extrusion, but I really meant we want to create a sweep because we're going to go all the way around the perimeter. So I'm going to use a sweep tool. I'm going to sketch a path. And I'm going to use a rectangle tool. And we're going to tie that off to all of the perimeter of our panel system. We'll complete that. We're going to add in the profile now. And I didn't load the profile for some reason. It might have been the way I resaved that file. So let me just go out and go ahead and grab that profile again. Extrusion profile. And now I can select it. And we'll go to the left-hand side view because we can see then how that profile has been placed. This is the exterior of the curtain wall system. The panel is flipped onto the inside of it. So let's just go ahead and rotate that right away. I'm going to rotate 180 degrees. And I'm going to flip it in so that it goes around the perimeter. That's the outside of the unit. That's the tab that comes in for the glass. And we'll go ahead and complete that. And now we have a continuous frame around the whole perimeter. And I'm going to go to a 3D view and zoom extents after I deselect, and I'll just pick a little more. There you go. So now we have our perimeter created around the whole unit. The other thing we want to do now is make our spandrel area. And I'm going to make the spandrel actually on the top of the panel. And that's going to be another sweep of this extrusion. And we're going to go ahead and make another reference line. So I'm going to create a reference line. And we're going to give it a parameter, the thickness of our spacing. So I'm going to give it a dimension right away. And we're going to go, I'm going to open up the parameter. Well, I can do it this way or another way, but I'm going to open up the parameters palette and create a new parameter that I'm going to call spandrel depth. And that's a type parameter, and it's a dimension, so that's okay. And we should probably give it a default value, so I'll give it 2 foot. And then what we've got to do is now is assign that to this parameter, or to this dimension. So I'm going to go ahead and use the drop down and give it the spandrel depth, and that snaps to 2 feet. Now I can use that for extruding our spandrel across the bottom here. So we're going to make 2 sweeps. I'm going to create a new sweep, sketch a path, and I'm going to go from the edge of the existing extrusion over to the other side. Oops, I canceled out of that by accident. And I'm going to lock that to both sides. And we're going to put that profile on. And we'll look at it from the left side to see which orientation we have on that. Once again, we need to rotate it 180 degrees. And that one is facing up, and that's fine for the top edge of that spandrel. So we'll go ahead and complete that out. And we'll take a look at that from the front view. And now if we make adjustments here, we want to check to make sure that that expands out along with our complete window element. Now we actually want to do exactly the same thing again, but have another piece that flips down. So we're going to go to create another sweep. I'll zoom in here and sketch the path, which will be another line. Lock it down exactly the same way we did before. Apply that same profile. We'll look at that from the left-hand side again. And we want to rotate it 180 degrees. And then we want to flip it so it faces down. And we'll complete that out. Now let's go back to our exterior view and make sure that we have parametric behavior, which means that the elements are stretching out the way they should. And if we were to go in and change our spandrel dimension, we want to make sure that that functions properly. And as our spandrel moves down, so do our 2 elements. I'll take a look at that in a 3D view. So now we have our frame system for our curtain wall panel. We have a definable spandrel element that moves parametrically, and we'll look in the next clip at inserting that into the system and then adding the other features that we want to add to that.